Hello and welcome to my part of the presentation in which we're looking at the ER model and identifying the entities and relationships and the procedural and conceptual planning of the actual project. My name is Israel and let's get it straight away. So the first thing we did was we read through the entire brief and identified key points and made a list out of it. Now you can see on this side is all the main points and then off it are the actual subparts to them words that we found in the actual brief. Now, using this, we were able to move on to identify the keyword, well, the entities for this project, in which they were the company, the customer order, the customer itself, the stock, the order sheet, and the supplier. From that, we were able to preliminary design using these entities that we had decided on, and we also found their product primary keys, and then we also identified if they were weak entities or not. Now, to start with, we have customer, who is the person who wants to buy this, which we thought was a key entity to this project, and then we have company, which is a weak entity because it relies on the supplier to give it stock. And the company has its own stock ID, well, which is product ID in the actual ER diagram, which you can see on the right hand side of your screen. Next, we have the supplier, which is weak because it relies on it having stock. Moving on, we also have the customer order, who has a primary key of the customer ID, and it's a weak because it relies on there being a customer for it to exist. The stock relies on the supplier, as you need a supplier to be able to use the stock. Next we have the order sheet, which relies on the company because they make it to go along to the suppliers so they know what their company needs. Moving on, we then decided to choose how each of these entities are linked, which is basically the preliminary design of the relationship. Now, the customer has to make, for all of this to work, has to make a customer order, and that order obviously is then sent to the company. When the company get the order, they need to, if they haven't got the stock, they need to request it from the supplier. Once the supplier gets the customer order / the order sheet, they pick the stock from their stock and then send it back to the company, to which they fill out and produce the order sheet, and that gets sent to the customer. Next, we have the initial conceptual planning, and this goes through how the customer makes the order. They then hold the company do hold their own stock, as well as they request it from the supplier, in which they rely on the supplier for stock, meaning it's a weak entity. The supplier sends the company stock, and it has its own stock, which it relies on. Next, we have stock, which is owned by the supplier, and the company do need to know what stock they have so that they can request more or buy more for themselves, which means that it relies on the company to get more. Customer order is created by the customer, which means it's a weak entity because it relies on there being a customer, and a company gets sent this order so they can pick it. Then we have the order sheet, which is created by the company, which goes to the supplier so that the supplier knows what to get the company, and is also given back to the company, which then is given to the customer because they need to know what they're buying. Finally, we have our ER model, which is fully complete, showing relationships, how they're related, and then it also has all the attributes, which we also do have primary keys that are underlined, and as such we do. Let me explain how all of these linked up now. The customer order is one customer order which goes to one company. You also have the one company sends to the one customer. The one customer creates one customer order. The one company, and then there's the one supplier. That's both ways. And then the one supplier has many stock, so that many stock gets sent to the supplier. Anyway, that is gonna wrap it up for my section. I do hope you understood it and enjoyed. I thank you for listening.